Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel, CRPS Struggles. My first video, I gave you guys a little introduction to what CRPS is, or Complex Regional Pain Syndrome. This video, I just wanted to talk to you guys about my story and what happened with my injury and how my CRPS developed. A little bit of backstory. I used to be a massage therapist. I was a massage therapist for about 8 years before my injury, and I absolutely loved my career. I was able to practice between Arizona and Alabama. I really enjoyed working with geriatric clientele or people who had handicaps and it was hard to travel. In Arizona, I had my own business where I would travel to people's homes and help, and I met some incredible people. I also got to participate in some different events. I was able to participate in the Phoenix Children's Hospital Sickle Cell Anemia Day. We did a presentation, had a luncheon, and I was able to give massage to some of their guests. I was very honored to be there. It was a cool experience, and I learned about sickle cell anemia. I also got to work on some pro athletes and a couple of other famous people. Sorry, I can't tell you who they were, but it was a really cool experience. I got to meet some really awesome people, not just, a couple of famous people, but just normal everyday people who, decided to share their lives with me. So, when my injury happened, I was living here in Alabama. I'm in South Alabama, not too far away from Mobile, and I was working at a massage studio. Thanksgiving of 2017 is when my accident happened. The day before Thanksgiving, it was my day off, and I had been in the kitchen for about 12 hours doing a lot of prep work, and I was really tired. But I had a lot done, so the next day, come Thanksgiving dinner, it would just be pretty easy. I could just kind of get things in the oven and go. I was having a little bit of family over to my house. My mother lived with me, and my brother and my niece were coming, so it wasn't too big, but it was nice being able to host some family at my house. When my injury happened, it was about 1 in the morning, and my mother had come into the kitchen. I asked her to finish up a couple dishes there while I broke the ham down so I could put it away and go to bed. And I wasn't thinking. I should have switched knives before I started, and when I went to break the joint of the ham, my hand slipped and went straight down the knife. It was pretty bad. I quickly turned to the sink and I tried to open my hand to see how bad it was, but I couldn't really open it. My mother threw a dish towel at me, so I clammed down on that real hard, wrapped it around my hand. We actually got in a fight. I told her to please put my dog in the kennel, and she was arguing with me. We don't have time. I said, there's open food. I don't want her to get it and get sick. Please put her in. So it was a good idea. The hospital was very close. It was less than a mile away. We got there. It was dead. It was, very late. And it took 13 stitches to close my hand. It was in my dominant hand, my right hand. You can still somewhat see my scar right there, but it's all the way across, and it went almost halfway through my hand. The doctor said if it had gone any deeper, then I would have severed most of the or all of the tendons in my hand, so I was lucky that it didn't go any deeper. I was out of work from the end of November all the way through the beginning of February. I was freaking out because I had no savings, I had no plan, I didn't know what I was going to do. I tried to go back to work too soon. I went back to work the beginning of February. My hand was not fully healed at all. I could not massage, so I was just offering stretch sessions only to my existing clientele. And then I was also helping the studio with cleaning the studio, helping the therapists flip their rooms and clean up between clients, file shredding, things like that. But I was a massage therapist. I wasn't a front desk worker who mostly handled those duties. So the studio was not able to support me if I couldn't massage, and I was not able to do enough stretch sessions because it was too much on my hand. So, March of 2018, I left that job and I started working at a newer massage studio, and I was hired on with the understanding that I would be promoted to the manager of the studio once the business could support it. So in the meantime, I was doing front desk duties, street outreach marketing. I was part of hiring and firing different employees. I trained new employees. We would have a little massage one-on-one. Some of my employees were fresh out of school, so it was good for them to learn some different techniques. But it was all a lot of pressure on my hand. And at that time, I was trying to use more forearm techniques and teach, some of my new employees how to use their forearms and save their hands. But it was too much. Roughly about 6 months after my injury, I had pain still all throughout my hand. My hand was swelling really bad, a lot of burning, stinging, numbness, tingling, all kinds of pain. And it was starting to travel up my arm. And about 6 months after my injury, it was roughly about my elbow. The doctor I was seeing at the time, she had made it clear it was not an injury that she knew how to deal with. I was lower income at the time because I was supporting my mother, and I couldn't afford insurance at the time. So my only options, instead of an orthopedic surgeon like I needed, I was only able to go to the low-income health clinic. They were able to help me with keeping me out of work with a doctor's note. Sorry, a little gnat is over here. But they kept me out of work with a doctor's note as long as I needed, and tried to help manage pain with meds as far as gabapentin and muscle relaxers. I was on a very high dose of gabapentin, and for me personally, it did not work well. I also deal with severe major depressive disorder as well as borderline personality disorder, and the gabapentin exacerbated my depression, and I was in a very low spot. It was already hard enough dealing with losing my home and my career. By January 2019, I was behind on my bills because I was not making enough. My income had decreased to less than half of what I was making as a therapist, and I had to pack up my apartment and surrender it and trust the help of my family. So at first, I was bouncing around between my brother, my mother, my sister. I lived with my mom for a while, and then I did home care, or tried to help out with home care for my sister's Aunt Vicky and Grandma. Grandma has dementia, and Aunt Vicky was bedbound due to multiple strokes. I was able to help out for about 7 months, and it was being real hard on my arm. I lived there on site. They had a small cottage in the back that I lived in with my dog. But when we had to move, I moved back in with my mom, and then a couple of months ago, this year, 2022, I had to move. So right now I'm staying with my sister. It's been a roller coaster of emotions. The CRPS has spread all the way from fingertip to shoulder blade on my right arm. Every single day it is burning, throbbing, stinging, sharp, shooting, aching, just everything kind of pain in my arm. Some days it's better, some days it's unbearable. Being around my sister, being around my niece, that kind of helps because, they bring comedy to a situation, and they help me feel a little bit better when I'm not feeling well. I do also go to therapy every week. I see a therapist, and that also helps with the depression and the borderline personality disorder. I'm on a few different meds for my mental health, and with seeing my therapist weekly, we work on dialectal behavior therapy, and it's great. She helps me to make sense of the chaos in my mind and learn different coping skills to get through each day. Not for just the depression issue, but for the pain. Sometimes when you're in pain, it's kind of hard to remember things, that you need to do to get yourself out of that or try to help alleviate that. And, some of the skills that I have learned in therapy can transfer into high pain days. Now, it's not to say it helps all the time, because there are days where just nothing helps. No amount of medication I take, or ways to distract myself, or home care like heating pads and whatnot. Some days you just feel like crap. Now, I have been on disability for a couple of years now. When I left my apartment, I got in touch with a agency called Vocational Rehabilitation, and Voc Rehab helped me with tools I needed and helped finding a job where I could try to work from home. So when I left my job at the massage studio, I went into working from home. I worked with a company where we listened to pre-recorded calls, customer service calls through a cable provider, and we helped grade the agent to make sure they were hitting the marks that they need to, and leaving them coaching comments on something that they could work on. Uh, it was tough. Even with a special mouse for my hand, it was very hard with the repetitive motions. A lot of times I was having extra pain, loss of feeling in all throughout my fingers and the back of my hand. And so it was very difficult some days. But also with the medication that I was on, with the high dose of gabapentin, plus my depression, plus high pain, there were some days that I would be trying to work and I would just, my body would just shut down. I couldn't think, I couldn't move, I couldn't do anything but go and lay down. Um, I was laid off due to COVID in 2020, and then August of 2020 I had my disability hearing, and was awarded disability within about 30 days after my hearing. I was very fortunate. My disability case only took about a year, so that was extremely helpful. Even though I was still working when I applied for disability, because I went through vocational rehabilitation to show, look, I'm still trying to do something, even though I'm altering where I work, I'm changing the field I used to work in, I'm learning new skills, I still cannot do this. So thankfully my disability was awarded, and it was either September or October of 2020. So I was very thankful for that. With my disability back pay, I bought myself a pre-built shed building. It is a 12-foot by 32-foot long pre-built shed that eventually I have hopes to turn into a tiny house for myself. I'm sure y'all can imagine being low income. It's kind of hard to do some of that, so right now I'm just working on paying it off. And hopefully I can start squirreling away some money to get that put together for myself. And then there's the task of finding it a permanent home, hopefully a small little piece of land for myself. One thing about me, even though I do have high pain, I try to use my arm as much as I can. I really enjoy things like homesteading, gardening, having chickens, some kind of livestock. I also love spending time with my niece and helping out with her. Some days it's difficult. Some days I really can't use my arm at all, and I need to have the help of a sling. There are days when my arm just feels incredibly heavy. It's a lot of nerve pain, and just trying to hold my arm, up high or something, it hurts. So I have to have the help of a sling at times. Um, I try to make the best of every day. I'm not perfect, I make mistakes, but I try to be as positive as I can through this. Thank God for therapy, because both of my therapists have helped quite a bit. I saw one therapist for almost 3 years, and then she had to transfer to another office, so I started with a new therapist at the beginning of this year, and she's been great. If I feel like I'm freaking out and need to, they have a therapy hotline, so that has been, useful the few times I've had to utilize that. There's no shame in my game as far as mental illness. I have had a very crazy and chaotic life. I have been through multiple traumas, and that's not to say I'm a victim. It's just how my life has gone. And, unfortunately, I do have some mental illness, but I do the things I need to every day to help myself. I stay on my medication, I remember to hydrate, and if I need to, take a time out. For me, that was today. I had a very quiet day. My sister, brother-in-law, and niece went out for the day with some of their other family, and I've been able to kind of take some recharge time. I ate a good meal. I've been catching up on some laundry. I took some time out and I've been playing a game that I enjoy, you know, getting some fresh air outside. We had 2 cats. One of them is actually attacking my feet right now. But, you know, every day is just what you make it. And those of us with CRPS have given a pretty crappy card, and it sucks, but we do what we can. If you're still watching this, thank you. I appreciate you. Stick around. I don't know what the hell this channel is going to be other than, you know, kind of my journey in life with CRPS. You know, at times there might be some discussion about some mental illness. There might be, you know, hey, these are some ways to help distract yourself. Different kind of content. If you guys have any comments, if there's something that you want to ask or you want to see, let me know and I'll be happy to, you know, try to make that happen for you guys. But thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all later. Bye, y'all.